Hi, and welcome to the Large and Unnecessary Jazz Funk Cookery and the Films of Al Pacino podcast. My name is David.
Hey, how you doing? It's me, Al.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm a little rough. I've had too many cigarettes. Or as I like to call them, Pacino's desserts.
We have an action-packed episode for you today. We're going to be talking about Jaco Pastorius. What did he like to have for breakfast when he was on tour with Weather Report? Carlos Santana, legendary jazz fusion maestro, but is it true he's actually allergic to dark chocolate? We'll find out. We'll be doing the Retro Gourmet Book Club. This month it's Rum Baba. Get your recipes in for that. Pawel, you're going to be talking to us about Polish soundsters, the Novi Singers. Is it Novi or Novi? Did I get that right?
I think either works.
The Novi Singers.
No. Either works. I think we can accept both these versions. Thank you very much. Also, what's going on here?
Excellent. But first, before all of that, Al Pacino. You might know him as a marimba player of some renown and also creator of the Pacino omelette, or eggs alla Pacino, as it's sometimes known.
Oh no!
But did you know he's also quite a successful actor? Euan, would you like to tell us about that?
I have been in the acting game for many years, but my original passion is for jazz funk and marimba playing and cookery, which is why I'm here on this show. David, thank you for having me here.
You're very welcome. Al.
What I really want to get into is bass specs.
Oh well, you've come to the right place.
What pickups are you using?
Oh well, you've got to love the standard J bass, jazz bass. I mean,
It's a lovely round sound, not too much middle.
yeah. I mean, it's that scooped sound which is ideal for, you know, if you're going like Larry Graham style. Yeah.
Sorry, is this too much soundster stuff for you? Shall we dial it back a bit and then talk about the eggs alla Pacino?
Right. I think Chris is gonna want us to talk about video games.
The big question is whether he's actually listening to this, because we might just get away with this.
Yeah. The theme music's playing now. It's actually been playing for like a little while.
Good one.
I suppose we might as well do this then.
I'm gonna fade it up.
Hello and welcome to the Large and Unnecessary First Player Token podcast. I'm Euan.
I'm Pawel.
I'm David.
And it's almost as if there's somebody here today, or not here today, that would be normally a more calming influence.
What gave it away?
And keep things sort of directed on their proper topic. But he's not here today.
It's his birthday.
Yeah, it's his birthday, so he's got the present of not spending the evening with the three of us, which I think is a fair...
We're very happy for you, Chris.
Yeah.
Enjoy not having us around.
That's all I got him though.
I'm gonna get him a French fancy with a cigarette sticking out the top of it.
Oh, lovely.
When he gets back.
So this is a video games episode.
That's what I've been told. Yes.
Yep.
It may have also been something else at the beginning, but unfortunately, we seem to be cruising towards video games now, which is something I'm actually familiar with. So yeah.
How is everybody? We normally do that, don't we?
Well, it's nice. Well, yeah, it's nice to sort of touch base, as it were, and you just make sure that we're all.
Are we allowed to use this particular word as in touch base? That's very businesslike for a Friday evening.
Well, you know, but this is something of a business concern to some extent. So, you know, let's all touch base with each other. Let's all touch each other's bases, and we'll touch the listeners' bases. How are you out there in podcast land? Obviously can't answer us, but, you know.
Right.
Sorry, I appear to have had a stroke last night. I left the radiator on too high a setting. I left the radiator on, in fact. It shouldn't have been on in the first place.
Radiators on in Scotland in April. That's just a common thing, really. It's such a strange country, honestly.
So, yeah.
Yeah, okay, but enough racism, Pawel.
It was radiatorism.
What are you going to tell us about this week?
I'll be talking about a video game for a change, because we've not done it for a while. And this is not going to be a AAA title, which is something I normally sort of tend to do. I leave all that pixel art shit to you guys, and all the indie games, and all the stuff developed by maybe 3 people, out of which 2 haven't really worked on things. Because you guys tend to like this sort of things.
Imagine you trying to lord it over us with this.
And I'm just like, I'm just going with the mainstream, I'm trying to hide amongst all the well-behaved commercial customers and all the capitalism slaves, because all that indie stuff may just get me evicted from this country.
And that's why you come on every week and point out the failings of AAA games such as Mass Effect Andromeda, Mass Effect 2.
What? Now we're going too far.
Okay, well, why don't you tell us about a game you have been playing that's relevant to today's episode?
Yeah. There's this game with a fairly peculiar title that's just popped up in my Steam library, and I cannot really tell why. What's it doing there, or when I got it? I have a feeling there may have been a sale. There may have been. I may have seen Dave's name saying it's on his wish list, and I thought, you know what, Dave is a good judge of video games. If he wants it, I might as well just click on that. But I honestly cannot remember. What would make you sort of just buy a game titled 3030 Death War Redux? What do you think this game is, gents?
It sounds terrible.
I mean, my go-to thing is it's probably some kind of bullet hell shoot 'em up thing. That would be like if I was to just pick any genre. That's what I would expect from a name like that.
An interesting choice.
My question would be, what happened to 3030 Death War, if this is like the redux of it?
Well, this is a good. To be fair, up until recently, I did not know. I actually thought this was a full title, but it is actually a redux of an earlier game titled 3030 Death War. Right.
So it makes it slightly less interesting then.
So if we rewind back to 2007, this is when this game was originally released, and then it's been reduxed.
Goodness.
Reduxed.
Redo.
I'm sure this is a verb of some manner.
Reduxulated.
There you go. Right. So we have this guy called Matt Griffiths here, along with Mick Newsom, or Newsom even, of a company called Bird and Sky.
Is this in the future?
What?
This game, does it take place in 3030?
There you go, yes.
I just like the idea that there are people called Matt Griffiths in 3030 still.
Are you talking about the designers or characters in the game?
Well, I'm sure that there are characters like this in the game, but those are the 2 designers.
Oh, I thought there were characters.
See, I thought this is where we were going. I think Pawel's genuinely been thrown. He doesn't know how to approach an indie game. He doesn't really know how to come into it.
It is a peculiar thing, yes, because I started playing it and I thought, this is very indie. And I've played, indie games in the past, but they've recently won like 6 Grammys or BAFTAs and stuff like this. So, I still felt reasonably mainstream. And here I am playing 3030 Death War Redux and really enjoying myself, and I couldn't really understand why, and I still don't fully, but there you go. It's just such an addictive thing. So you're put in the shoes, I should say, or in the hat for that matter, of a character called John Falcon, who's a mixture of Han Solo and, I suppose, Indiana Jones, given the fact that he's wearing a hat even though he's steering a spaceship. Your trusted sidekick, I suppose trusted, although I don't really trust the guy, is a robot called, I think, Kent, and his specialty is opening trash compactor doors. I think you have some sort of mechanic, although she's essentially just abandoned me on the first space station and I've not seen her since, but I think she's an important character. There is a plotline in this game of some sort, but in all fairness, I've just lost it, and I've played like good 15 hours of it. Well, say 10, 15. And just maybe to quickly say what it is, you're quite right, it does take place in 3030. And I sort of thought that this is maybe why the title says so. And you're right, it does have certain elements of a bullet hell. Most of the game, you're essentially a spaceship. Or I should say a pixel art spaceship. Although the graphics, especially when you're flying your spaceship, are fairly decent. Better than what you'd expect from what's probably a blurry...
Another condescending comment about indie games there.
No, sorry. No, it's more about pixel art. I've tried a few pixel art games, and so far all I could say is I don't know or understand why pixel art is art or pixels. I mean, surely you could come up with something better, but there you go. So you fly this spaceship, you look at it from I suppose bird's view perspective, or just in a 2D, let's call it environment, looking for above. And space, it's an open world thing. You can fly between space stations, essentially, ferrying cargo, fighting pirates, shooting at asteroids and stuff like that. And the majority of game is essentially just that, shooting your lasers or missiles at various enemies or other targets, ferrying whatever items you're hoping to sell in another space station. As bad as this might sound, because it's fairly generic, isn't it? And we've played stuff like this. The arcadey mechanics of flying this spaceship of yours are really fun. As in the controls are responsive. The whole momentum / inertia sort of physics that seem to govern the entire difficulty aspect of the game is actually entertaining. So wherever you fly, you can feel your spaceship needing, I don't know, time to turn in time, things like this. Okay. Speed up, slow down, dodge bullets. Your momentum or inertia, however you look at it, is all that matters there. So this thing aside, the game is also supposedly, I guess, if you can call it that, an RPG, because you constantly keep improving your spaceship, improving various subsystems, buying new stuff, buying better ships, tailoring your ships to whatever your, I suppose, plans for financial improvement are. Because if you want to mine asteroids, you're going to go for a bigger cargo hold. If you want to to be a taxi driver, you'll go for more passenger cabins. And if you want to shoot pirates and stuff, you'll go for your weaponry, shields and stuff like this. I think those are the main sort of career paths, but this game does not tell you what to do at all. Apart from the spaceship flying part, which I should say is like completely streamlined between I don't know how many space or star systems, because you've got what's called a split drive, which is your faster than light sort of mode of travel. All of this, there's no you're looking at the spaceship flying through whatever star system at using whatever conventional engines and speed. But if you want to fly faster because you need to transport yourself to another planet, say, or another space station, or maybe even to another star system as such, you engage your split drive, and then you start flying much faster. You have to obviously stop at a certain moment as well. You have to navigate even through such jumps. There is no auto navigation as such. You still keep steering, and depending on what subsystems you have installed, you'll be better at turning. Even at split engine speed. And it sounds bizarre, but once you start playing it, this is the main sort of fun factor in the game. And it's as much as it's arcadey, it's actually really well designed and really responsive.
Wait, so steering is the fun part of this game?
It is, yes. Wow. Steering your spaceship.
Space steering.
Exactly. And I should say, this is just you pressing 3 buttons. Forward, left, and right. So you can press back if you like.
Don't go back. Never go back.
Well, no, why? Because you would have to slow down for that first. There is a jump button,
jump
but this is you. No. This is a fully 2D game.
Is this the one where I'm still trying to determine why this is on my wish list. I don't know yet. Is this the one where when you get out of your spaceship, it's a side-on view?
Yes. So
and it looks a bit like an old adventure game.
Yeah.
Cyberpunky and...
Well, yeah, let's call it that. Because apart from the main section where you essentially just fly between space stations and star systems, you can and should, because this is a good source of money, track down and explore derelict spaceships and various other floating space ruins or whatever you call them. So essentially, you find them in space, you approach them, and then the game puts you and your character in a spacesuit, and you're just a salvager person looking through a derelict spaceship and scanning various things. And this is where it's also 2D but seen from the side, and it's a randomly or procedurally generated sort of labyrinthine ruin where you have to either cut through things with your gun, scan things depending on how long your battery will survive, pick up various cargo items or other curiosities, sell them later, stuff like that. And the third mode is when you're on actual space stations. You can dock in pretty much most of them. I suppose all of them, but some of them are pirate. I've not encountered pirate space stations yet, but anyway. And you'll have a host of... This is, again, a 2D scene from the side sort of scene where you're just walking left and right, and you can approach characters to have very basic conversations with them. Usually it's just handing in a mission or taking a new one. There's a few consoles that you can use to upgrade your ship, refuel your ship, pick up some missions. And the missions are, again, procedurally generated. There is your standard collection of kill stuff, bring stuff, mine stuff.
It seems like there's like a decent 4X element to this, like with actually, mining resources and actually accumulating wealth to do, whatever it is you're...
Yeah, because the 4X obviously means what? Go for it.
Exploration.
Yes, you do that in this game.
Exploitation.
I'm not sure I suppose if you mine and stuff, yeah.
Xavier...
What?
Renegade Angel.
Xylophone,
okay.
There is music in the game as well. A peculiar thing, actually, the soundtrack for this game is a little bit weird. You're gonna get your tracks that are, soundtracky, as in what you would expect from a sort of arcadey space game. And you're gonna get actual pop songs, composed or / performed by... no idea whom, some sort of indie, I suppose, singers.
Prodigy?
Some of them pretty good.
Is it K-pop? I hear that's really big.
Some of them might actually sound this way. It's at first it's a little bit bizarre when you flying through whatever star system and you hear a pop song, but at some point it's entertaining, and it's a part of the game's appeal, to the point where when you actually turn the game on, you get a message saying, YouTubers, be aware that at some point you might not want to broadcast this game online because it's a different license thing when it comes to
so
to
they're
these songs.
actual licensed songs.
I suppose, because there is this warning, and in your sound settings you can tick your YouTube version of the game, and then those particular tracks will not pop in.
Oh, how modern.
I know, yeah. What else can I say about this game?
What's the object of this game, if there is one? Is
Yeah,
there a story?
Yeah, there is a story. You start by... It's a sort of very Futurama-like collection of weird characters on both the space stations and amongst your own comrades and potential villains of the game. And there is a story at first, which is essentially just there is a few gangsters, I suppose, who are trying to monopolize... derelict salvaging in whatever space sector that you're in, and you're obviously a salvager who's just lost a ship, so you start small by just taxiing some passengers from a space station to space station in the same system, and before you know it, all those other job types open up to you because you're able to afford better spaceships. Essentially, eventually have one of those gangsters hunting you, so you have to shoot him down. And I suppose that's as far as I've seen of the actual storyline. You're told that there is a huge derelict ship with a malfunctioning split drive that just keeps jumping around the system, and you're supposed to locate it. And I was like, yeah, I'll keep that in mind. And I just started flying all around this open world, because we're talking about, I don't know, 100 star systems you can go to. I just completely forgot about the storyline, and then at some point my trusted sidekick Kent mentioned, yeah, by the way, that huge spaceship, it's called Largo, by the way, or Largo, I'm not sure, it's a large spaceship, so there you go. It just crashed somewhere and it's gone, and you can't really do anything about it, so bye. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing like good, I'm earning proper money doing all my stuff, so bye, Kent. And I've been playing this game for many hours now without any sort of storyline. There's supposed to be a storyline because I've just read about it. Apparently, now I know that the game is indeed taking place in year 3030, and the Death War part of the title apparently is something about an old war that has wiped out humanity or made planets uninhabitable, and that's why everybody lives on space stations, which is I've not even noticed this, to be fair, as I was playing the game, but yeah, it's all space stations, and you don't even do much with planets themselves. Sometimes you'll just like scan them or take photos of them if you have a job like this. But other than that, yeah, supposedly you're joining some sort of organization and learn the history of this Death War thing. I'm like, what? I'm just earning money here.
Is this a released game, or is it in early access?
It was released 10 years ago. Then
oh,
it
yes,
was,
of course. So, yeah,
then it was reduxed with
so
additional storyline and improved gameplay. It's definitely a full feature. And you know what? I think this is what I'm trying to sort of say, that as much as I've not noticed storyline being there because I've probably just taken a big step and gone... You know, like in Skyrim, you emerge from your tutorial stuff and you just turn left instead of going where your game tells you. That's what I've done in this game, and I've been doing it since, just earning money and shooting pirates and doing various other things. But the game seems very alive in a very procedurally generated way, as in what there's. A number of obviously factors that will that are responsible for the algorithm for mission creation. So you know, you've played it for 10 hours, you've seen essentially all types of missions, but you still keep doing them because all the time you can buy better ships, better stuff for them, better weapons, and randomly there will be things happening in this world that have nothing to do with you, but you can take part because there's just ships that are getting raided by pirates. There's, I don't know, suddenly smugglers approaching you and offering to sell you stuff. All sorts of just random things happening all the time. It's weird, but it's got an appeal.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
I don't know. There are so many games that are a bit like this.
Exactly.
And it's interesting that it's quite as old as it is. If it traces its lineage back to 2007, and if they've not really changed that much, possibly, other than making it more modern, perhaps.
I mean, there's probably improved controls and stuff like this.
Yeah, but
rebalanced gameplay.
In terms of the procedural generation stuff,
I think this was because it was originally released in 2007, then it was re-released in 2014, and then the Redux version was released in like late September.
It does sound fun. I think you've persuaded me not to buy it, though. Not because there's anything wrong with it. Just because I've played kind of enough of that stuff, I think.
I've heard you guys speaking about games like this before, and it's simply because I've never really played any of those. To me, it's novelty, the light-hearted aspect and the freedom aspect of it, where I don't really... I mean, I know this game has plots and side missions and stuff. I just don't do any of those. I just go for my whatever contracts, or I just explore the universe, find another star system, see that there's so many different potential like derelicts to explore and salvage. Fill my cargo holds with junk, go to the closest space station and see if I can sell it well there. It's the freedom of just traveling through those space systems, the star systems, uninterrupted, so long as your fuel allows. You have to actually plot your jumps to the point where as you speed up when your split drive is engaged, you might, put yourself in the sun. Temperature is one of the aspects sort of tracked by the game. Your fuel, your, shield's hull, if you're getting damaged by pirates or, collisions, you might lose your weapon system and stuff like this, so you'll need repaired. But if you plunge yourself into star, that will damage you as well. There is whatever space critters that might attack you when you traveling through it. There's whatever nebulous and deep space between stars, and you have to be able to turn around them and keep your fuel up.
Yep, it's a game which places such focus on steering. I don't know. I feel like I have to check this out just to see it for myself. It's like Elite, but with extra steering and no docking computer.
Just think it. No. There is apparently some sort of autopilot eventually. Not initially, and not after the first couple of hours. But you might eventually buy an autopilot if you like. I'm not sure why would you do it, because it's the steering that's fun here. I don't know. It's the whole momentum mechanic in this game that just makes it fun.
I might check it out. I might watch a video.
See if it annoys you.
See what it's all about. Right, well, thanks, Pawel.
I can't believe I talked about this so long. I mean, this is actually a tiny game.
Yeah, but somehow you managed it.
Yes! I was going to talk about The Witcher 3.
To the surprise of nobody.
It sounds like your mind is expanding, Pawel. That can only be a good thing.
I think so too, yes. Next time, AAA.
Right. Okay. So, thanks, Pawel. I'm going to talk a little bit about something that I've mentioned before on this podcast, which is Path of Exile, the Diablo 2 alike, which has been consuming much of my life the past couple of weeks. I would say it's not the kind of game I would normally play, but I've decided to take one for the team, a bit like a kind of embedded reporter.
It does sound a bit like you've been going undercover.
Do you remember when people used to go on Second Life as reporters? They did that on the Register, which Pawel might be familiar with. See this thing about this job that you have, Pawel. Your cover is very thin.
None of us are convinced, really. But
anyway. Yeah, in a similar vein, I've been going deep undercover, trying to figure out what the heck the appeal exactly long term of this game is, because it is, when you first play it, is very addictive, and it's all new, and there's a massive skill tree and all these different things you can do, and you pump through it, but it becomes repetitive very quickly. But I stuck with it because I was assured by people that you've got to get to the end game, and that's when it really starts. So there is a story mode, but nobody gives a shit about it, really. By the time you're halfway through it, you've lost all interest. The way it's told is not conducive to telling a good story anyway in this particular game. Nobody cares.
Similar experience with Diablo 3, so I don't...
Oh, well, see, yes, these two are like peers. I mean, there are, as far as I can gather, there are only two massive, big Diablo-style games that people play at the moment. So you either play Path of Exile or Diablo 3. And I now know, having played Path of Exile, that Diablo 3 is trash. And
holy shit, I've really enjoyed Diablo 3.
Just something you know, or something that's been taught to you?
Something I know, despite having never played it, I'm now 100% convinced that only trash people play that game. This game has had such an effect on my vocabulary. I've learned all sorts of new words. I'll tell you, I found myself installing a program called YOLO Mouse, which was quite exciting. Which changed the color of my mouse cursor. I just love the name of it, because in Path of Exile and possibly in other games, I now know that when you do something, when you just do it without really preparing for it properly, like crafting without getting all the things you need statistically, because this game is all statistics and stuff, really, then you're YOLOing it. You're like, I'll just YOLO it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I've YOLO'd a lot of stuff in my life.
I bet you have.
In fact, we're still sort of YOLOing it now.
Yeah. I'm now familiar with Letucan. Does anybody know who Letucan is?
It's a mixture of lettuce and pelican.
Yep, thanks. Letucan, I believe, is a League of Legends thing, or possibly the other one. It's an ASCII toucan that people post into chat streams while they're watching, I guess, League of Legends. But in Path of Exile, if you post Letucan in the chat, you get a 24-hour chat ban automatically to stop people spamming it, right?
Okay.
But now people do it as a sort of chat suicide, and everyone cheers. Like, if you're going to go to bed, or
post
like, you're like, good night everyone, and then you go like Letucan, and everyone types praise. Like, so just the whole chat is everyone going praise, praise, praise. It's like Letucan has arrived, it says on it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, see, even though it's not an MMO, this game has its own like little culture. It's quite interesting. But yeah, so I've got to the end game, which is what they call mapping. And basically you're just grinding through these set levels of sort of increasing difficulty. And they're placed on a thing called the Atlas. So there is this extra dimension to it where there's a sort of spatial relationship with them. And there's like areas of influence on the map that you can manipulate. And if you do it in the right way, you'll get better drops, because obviously it's all about the drops ultimately. So I mean, I played about with that a little bit, and it also unlocks the end game bosses, and there's various sort of intermediate bosses that you can tackle if you wish, and you can do these things via the manipulation of the Atlas, and that's quite cool. Whoever came up with that was really clever, because before that, I think you just went through the little levels, and you just, like, the maps are objects, and you just activate them, and it takes you a portal to a level, and you just blast through it, kill most of the monsters, kill the little boss. It'll be trivial, and then, you know, whatever your returns are, those are the things that drop that you pick up. Those are your returns, and optimizing your returns. That's what Path of Exile is all about.
That's what capitalism's all about.
It's a straight, yeah. I mean, so the mapping is okay. I appreciate this dimension of it, but I still don't get it. I haven't quite found the lasting appeal, and I have actually found myself not, after playing this game a lot, I've started to like not play it as much. Like, I even turned it on last night. I was like, I'll play it a little bit, and I actually turned it on and never actually played it in the end. And just went to bed.
Happens to all of us.
Yeah. But it hasn't been a total loss. I've learned a lot of stuff. Like, interesting things like the concept of seasons in these. Now, they have different names in different things, but I believe this is a concept that other games have. Games that are in it for the long haul, so the generation of new content.
If you're a developer who wants to milk the same game for a longer time than just its initial release period, you want to introduce some sort of end game content, and seasons are a half-assed attempt to do it, which is essentially how to make grinding for end game equipment more, not more interesting, but at least more competitive. So seasons are a way to introduce your...
Yeah, so they have these in World of Warcraft, I assume. Are they called seasons?
A lot of mobile games have them.
Yeah,
it's like seasons. It's quite common.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I didn't really know about this.
Yeah.
And they're interesting in Path of Exile. Path of Exile, every quarter is a new season, every 3 months. And they will introduce rebalancing of the content, some new, sometimes quite significant new content, sometimes minor things, like this time it's the Bestiary League, which focuses around capturing animals in the game. The Pokemon League, Trash League, by the way. It's like, this league is trash. Yeah.
Of course it is. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not buying any more microtransactions. That's it. It's not until until we fix this. But the thing, and like every season that comes in Path of Exile, there's a new league. And basically what people do is they start again from scratch.
That's what seasons are about. You create a new...
You create a new character,
Yeah.
and the character you had before goes in the bin. Like, in Path of Exile, they don't delete them, but they go to what's called the Standard League, which runs perpetually. And the Standard League contains all the stuff that's been rebalanced. You can still have it in Standard. There's massive currency inflation in that league. Nobody plays it, basically. It's for losers. So, kind of...
Is that the actual term from your chats, loser? Because I thought
they wouldn't call them losers. I can't remember what they would
there
call
must
them.
be a proper term for it, because I've known you loser for a long time. It must be
no.
such an outdated thing.
I'm trying to think. I'm not sure what it would be. I know there's normies. I've learned that.
Normies!
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Pawel is like... So Euan would be a normie, but possibly not Pawel.
I've never felt very normie.
Yeah, I find
look
this... It's a fascinating... And like new players to the game, not just myself, but other players come on the chat and they're like, what's the deal with this league thing? Like, when I first started it, the league was just about to end. And people were like, well, the league's just ending. So don't really worry too much about what you're doing, because the Bestiary League's going to start and you're going to start again. And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, but that's what happens. Your character goes to Standard, and that's where characters go to die, basically. And you make a new one. And it's actually genius, because it fixes all the issues with balancing. This fixes them, because every 3 months the game gets rebalanced, and anything that's unbalanced goes to Standard, so it doesn't matter. Nobody cares what happens in Standard. The economy, you have no money to begin with. Everything starts from scratch. So all the issues, any broken economy issues, are gone, because the economy is entirely rebooted from the beginning. So it's actually super clever. I was so impressed by this. And people actually like it, because building characters is the fun part of this game.
Yeah.
Like, once you get to the end, it's just like horrible.
And this is how far it differs from World of Warcraft. My better part has been playing World of Warcraft the past couple of months, and it's been, I don't know, it's been years since I've last stepped into Azeroth. And World of Warcraft is all about retaining your characters for decades, and opposing any change as such, because people are so...
Well, opposing change, I think, is something that is common across all of these games, because people are simultaneously desire and are terrified by change.
Yeah, and so the effect is Paulina's character currently has 7 million hit points, and you fight bosses that I cannot even, probably something like 20 billion hit points, and they're not even gonna decrease it, because that would just complicate things. So,
but it sounds like at the sort of cutting edge of Path of Exile that you've got a slightly more egalitarian community where they're like, we want to play it, we want to get a gaming experience, we don't want this overblown...
And it's unanimous. Like, everybody in that game agrees, but then there's so much groupthink in it that to dare to go against like what people say on chat, you will be aggressively taken down.
Pelican.
Like, one of the things in this game that's... The economic side is actually quite interesting and probably more fun than playing the actual game. There are people who only trade in this game, and that sounds terrible, but I can actually understand why, because it actually, in a way, makes more sense. But the economics of it are quite interesting. One of the things in this game that they don't have, which they have in other games, is a trading house. There's no automated way to trade with other players. And boy, do they like it that way. If you dare to suggest, you know what this game really needs? A trading house like in Diablo 3. Oh my god. I mean, like, because people are sick of hearing it. It's like every day someone's like, why is there a trading house in this game?
So, Dave, question. So, when you were playing this game, were you actually playing it, or were you mostly just venturing into the chats and looking for various underhanded ways to, I'm going to say, ignite discussion?
No, I mean, you can do both in this game. It is very difficult to follow the chat because there are so many people talking at the same time. So it's not really a conversation, but you can look at it while you're... I mean, and I do watch it while I'm playing the game, because you can play this game much of it with your eyes closed once you get going. Well, not literally, but almost. And yeah, you can't really troll people in this game. Not really. I mean, you could try, but it's difficult. And I mean, I got people to argue about like how many levels there are in a 2-story house, but that was unintentional. It wasn't deliberate.
Oh, marvelous.
I mean, every so often someone will just go off on one. Like, people do just lose the plot occasionally. That's in all these games, and it is amazing to watch. And everyone will immediately pile on them as well as soon as they can see one, prey on the weak. As soon as you can see one person has somewhat lost their composure.
I mean, that's quite a common thing. I mean, I go on a certain forum quite frequently, and it's funny just like when occasionally you'll just see quite normal people go into a thread, and for whatever reason something sets them off and they just have a full-on public meltdown. And we'll quite often, because it's quite a reasonable forum that I go into, we'll cop to it a little while later and kind of be like, yeah, that was bizarre. There's maybe not such like a Knives Out mentality there, but it is strange that online you can just, because you have that immediacy, people can just get right into like something they probably shouldn't. For me, it's the social component of it that's been the most interesting to me, because I don't think it's a very well made game. I mean, it's been going a long time, so the graphics are poop and it looks like terrible, and people spend hundreds, sometimes even thousands of dollars on it to get cosmetics to make their character look like shit, and I will never understand it. Like, it looks like when you go into the communal areas and everyone's got their microtransaction armor skins on, it's like a sort of visual explosion of particle effects and flare, and everyone's got flames coming off them, and there's like they've got a special shadow and auras and like 10 pets, and they leave like flaming footsteps. And
can I just ask about the culture of this particular gaming community? Because as far as I thought, or sort of knew from games like Diablo or World of Warcraft for that matter, or what's it called, Destiny, your microtransaction sort of aesthetic items are usually fairly easy to tell apart from something that you have earned by actually playing long and hard. And the communities I've been not a part of, because I just play solo whatever games I get, but from what I've heard and from what I've seen, people tend to look down at whoever wanders around with something that's clearly bought.
No, not in this game.
Not in this game.
No.
So
in fact,
if you want your bling and you want to...
If you don't at least spend some money on this game, you will be...
You're a normie.
You will be harshly judged, because you must support the developers. It's very important. It's amazing
is that a cult of some
sort? It's amazing how everyone kind of just rationalizes the amount of money that they spend as being the correct amount. So, like, people who spend thousands are morons, but if you don't spend anything, you're just like scum.
Why can't we just like go back to the days that if you spend more than the retail price on a game, you are a fucking idiot?
Yeah, well, I don't get what people get out of spending vast sums, but they do, and it keeps the game going. But the thing it reminds me a lot of, because it's not a great game, I don't think. It's more of an experience. It's a thing you do. It's an activity. It's not a game. Like, in the sense that like Go or chess is a game.
Well, for you, it's a social experiment.
Right, yeah. It's more of an activity, and it reminds me a lot of being at work. Working in an office with a sort of medium to large number of people. Because a lot of the things people say and do are very similar to the way people act when they work in these offices. So the way people are afraid of change but also desire it. The way that every time something is announced by the management, or in this case the developers, there's immediately a host of people straight up going, oh well, yeah, but when are they going to fix this? Yeah, like, it's like, when are they going to look at getting the access to the car park sorted? Who gives a shit about staff social nights? It's like that, but I don't know. I have this theory and I'm like, why do people play this? Why do they continue with it? But they can't leave, I think, because they've really got nowhere to go.
Yeah,
it's either that or go and play Diablo 3.
Well, if you're invested to that point in a game, it's not possible that you have something outside of that. in life.
But these are smart. These are smart people as well. You have to be relatively intelligent to do well in this game. There's a lot of like numbers and there's a lot to take in. I had to like watch so many freaking videos and guides and stuff just to learn how to play it.
So what you're saying is there is some sort of addictive aspect to it, and we need to try and name it, yeah? Because we know that if you play Candy Crush and whatever commute and you get addicted to that, it's mostly about you just finding relaxation and simple motions and colors and how, I don't know, very quick gratification. I suppose the addictive element here is the community you become part of and the social subgroups.
Partly, but that's more World of Warcraft, where it has a real community guild focus, and that's not really present
calendars and stuff.
Yeah, I think I have a theory that it's to do with needing some sort of monotonous activity, and it's a bit like I think people somehow need this. And if it's a bit like organized religion, that like if it didn't exist, people would invent it. So like, you know how we dream about this utopian society where in an ideal sense people wouldn't have to go to work. And people would say like theoretically we're approaching the point where it's not realistic for everyone to go to work every day. It doesn't make any sense. But I think people would miss it. And I think they would invent some sort of thing for them to do. It's something to be a part of, and it's not even like the dopamine reward, it's just an activity that you do. But I don't know, this is just a theory.
No, that makes sense.
I think you could probably speak to a lot of retirees and get a similar sort of idea of like people just needing something like that in their life, possibly.
Like people who play online gambling games, the ones where you don't actually win money.
We've had many a discussion about
they're
this.
massive.
Oh my God.
They're hugely popular. Yeah. A section of people love playing them, and I don't know. I hope they should be studying this game. I know sociologists are studying these kind of things. I'm sure they are.
Yeah, they are.
But they need to look like they need to look beyond the obvious ones and look into some of the less obvious stuff as well, because I think it might challenge some of the theories they have about community and finding social interaction within these games that they're not getting in the outside world and stuff.
This is good research material, yes. I've, as a person who's actually studied for many, many years social psychology and had modules in online communities, I think that you're on point.
Yeah.
Not that I'm an authority or anything, and as much as I may have studied it when I play games like this, I've played Diablo 3 from start to finish like twice or three times. I've never even touched any season, and I never will. I've never grouped up with a single person. It was just for story and gameplay. There was some loot involved, but I just enjoyed the game for its atmosphere.
So Diablo 3 has atmosphere and story.
Well, it's nice AAA graphics, and as far as story goes, not really. But you know what I mean. It's games for some are escapism, and in the end, this is a fantasy setting. You're clicking around and doing harm to various random monsters, and does that make me a norm?
A normie.
A normie.
Oh, I don't know, Pawel.
No?
I think you're talking like a normie. You're being too rational.
Thank you very much.
Anyway, that's more than enough, I'm sure. About
the full article will be available in Vice next month, so we'll look out for that.
So, Euan,
you wanted to introduce a new segment, yes?
I have an idea for a segment. I'm not sure how well prepared I am for this. We could cut it out if necessary. But,
What was the word for doing something when we're not prepared?
YOLO. Yeah, just
there you
YOLO.
go.
Oh,
just YOLO it.
Okay. So, there's not going to be any theme music for this at this point. But, I was thinking about a game, and I'm not, to be honest, I can't remember whether I've brought up talking about it on the podcast before. But I want to do a segment in defense of lost causes. And I'm sure everybody's got a few games like this that you might question even to yourself why you ever played it. And I want to talk about, and particularly now that the PlayStation 4 is getting on in years, and we're probably getting the first hints of there probably being another wave of consoles in a few years' time.
There's first hints popping up, yep.
Yeah. going back to the early release days of the PlayStation 4 and some of its flagship titles, I ended up playing a game with a friend called I'm actually forgetting the name. Oh, sorry, Bound by Flame, which is a kind of action RPG, very much trying to go. It was definitely trying to be Dragon Age, essentially. The idea being you built this party of these kind of characters and you could kind of interact with them, and certain things would change depending on how you interacted with them, and you go through this series of events. But it was very obvious playing through the game that it had been massively truncated from what they'd originally intended it to be. I think possibly rushed to get it out on the PlayStation 4, so they just had to cut huge chunks of the game. Like, there's obviously things missing.
Right.
But it has a strange charm that I can't... And I keep thinking about this game, thinking back to it, and I don't know what it is, because there's so many like elements of it that are kind of generic and, obviously ripped off. I mean, the main sort of force of evil in this game that you're trying to prevent are they're like ice wizards, ice mages, and like there's the hordes of icy undead. It's like, oh, that's very Game of Thronesy.
Well, in Dragon Age, it was Darkspawn or something like that.
Well, yeah,
I mean, you don't get more tropey than that.
Yeah.
But can I just ask, Bound by Flame, is that the game where your party consists of 4 characters and depending on what sort of proportions the character sort of body you went for, you would have different characteristics? Because I sort of remember a game like this.
There was probably character creation was considered for it, but was pulled at the last minute. And then you get 3. So there's female and male, and there's 3 presets, and I think that's pretty much it.
Okay.
And I think when we played it, we went with the generic.
Dragon Dogma. Sorry.
Yeah, I remember Dragon's Dogma having a lot of stuff to do with the size of. You've got these 3 presets, and I think when we played, we went with the sort of the generic, like husky, sort of beardy white dude, just because it didn't really seem worth taking any of the other ones. They were all pretty much the same, with just slightly different skin tones, and it, like, yeah, I think there was definitely an intention for there to be more character for that main character. You get to name your character.
Oh well, that's nice.
But at no point does that name ever come up in the rest of the game. All of the characters call it as Vulcan. I think everybody calls you that, and it's like, and you're like, the name doesn't even come up, like that you put in doesn't even come up in the dialogue boxes and things like that. But like, there are definitely some interesting design choices in like the enemies you fight. There's quite a variety. You start off, you're going to have to deal with these icy hordes, but then suddenly you're thrust into this jungle thing, and you're dealing with that, and you're sort of like dealing with this settlement that's out in this jungle, so you're dealing with the enemies that they have to deal with. A lot of them are like these floating insects and there's like a lot of challenge in the enemies. It's like, I've seen a lot of reviews saying that the combat system is difficult. I don't necessarily think that was I think it's just, they've made it deliberately quite challenging. Not necessarily going for the Demon Souls style thing. It's a different style, and there's like, there's moves you can learn as you go on, and you have part of the storyline is your main character is possessed by some fire demon that these sorcerers have tried to bring back to counter this plague. And the fire demon's constantly inside you, just giving you loads of guff about being a weak, puny human who he's stuck inside of. And you have the usual kind of, are you going to go with the dark side? Are you going to go with the kind of, are you going to resist the demon inside? And that affects how your sort of combat develops. And there did seem to be a massive difference between resisting the demonic urges and taking more straightforward combat stuff and going full on demonic. And I think there's something like 3 endings in this. But I don't know, for whatever reason, this like broken, janky game that's clearly had like stuff lopped out of it it has a place in my heart.
Aww.
And if you ever get a chance, I would suggest giving it a try. It's not a particularly long game either. Another criticism that was levelled at it a lot of time is that the single player campaign you can pretty much breeze through in about. Well, I say breeze through. It has definitely one of the most challenging final bosses in a game I've encountered in a long time. Like since my SNES days.
Right.
Like ridiculously hard, almost unplayable.
So, but the demonic fighting style as opposed to non-demonic, is that, would that make it easier? Do you think that's...
Do you know, that's the one thing, because I was playing with a friend who's probably a bit more, puts a bit more effort, is a bit more obsessive about these things than I am. I basically at that point was like, okay, if we're going to do this boss more than once, you're beating him, because there's no way I'm getting through it. And we tried it on both. Essentially, there are we'll do spoilers here, so you guys can cover your ears if you think you're ever going to play this, but I don't imagine you are. So you've got like a kind of a good ending and a bad ending, and there's a sort of middle way where you basically defeat the demon and go, I'm taking over the world.
That sounds like a decent ending.
Yeah. And when you get to that level of fighting the sort of the final boss, which is essentially the embodiment of this demon on some weird plane, yeah, none of the combat tricks really help you. It's like it's the thing I remember most about the boss battle is it's bare bones. Like you're just needing to maneuver and get a hit in whenever you can, and there's no real combat feats that kind of improve that. It's like it kind of everything you have acquired during the game becomes useless in the final boss battle. From what I remember. So yeah,
it sounds a little bit peculiar. I'm intrigued a little bit by the duality of your choice and consequences in your, I suppose, fighting style, fighting capabilities. But other than that, So you're defending this game?
I am defending it. I'm saying I enjoyed playing it, and I want to get that out there before it just sinks.
Well, at least you got to the end of it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's more than I did with Dragon Age. So.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, I mean, the difference with Dragon Age is you can go back and forth between different areas. In this game, you start off at one point, and then you move through different things through time, basically. So it's pretty linear. There'll be you in your first area is kind of an intro thing, and then you go to this settlement, and you can kind of breeze through it. A lot of the fun in the game is actually spending a bit of time in each area and doing all the quests that are available before you move on to the next thing, because you can't go back, and essentially time's moved forward and you're having to deal with different things. Some of the side characters that you pick up as well are quite interesting. There's like one guy who's just like 1,000-year-old corpse, who I believe turns out to be the narrator of the game, but essentially all of his kind of dialogue is brilliant. It's all quite sort of pithy and sarcastic and quite enjoyable to get involved with.
What was it called again?
Bound by Flame.
Bound by Flame.
And it was made by a small studio as well. Spiders was the name of the studio. I don't think they've made much else. I think they made one before called Mars, which I have not really any details on.
Wow. What do you think of this new segment, Pawel?
I think attempting to defend games that don't really sound appealing is a noble choice and a valiant effort, yes. I don't think this was an advertisement as such. This was mostly just Euan telling us how much he sometimes likes playing games that we would never attempt to pick up. Whether we will attempt is another matter.
Would Deadly Premonition qualify for your segment, or is it too culty?
Well, we have talked about Deadly Premonition back in the early, but I would happily go back to it.
Yeah. 'Cause that was another not really finished game.
Well, the thing is, I mean, the criteria that I was kind of looking at here was like, particularly for this one, is that it's just it's just like one of these kind of forgotten landfill games that for whatever reason has a little place in my heart, and it will sink without a trace, forgotten by all and sundry, and it's nice to give these things an airing, and also games that maybe necessarily get like a lot of get short shrift that you think have a lot of time. I have one in mind particularly for that for a future segment.
We'll have to see what the boss says though.
Yeah,
the gaffer.
I'm sure he's got some himself. We could sit and argue about Final Fantasy X if we really get into it. So,
right. Yes, please.
We need to wind up, guys.
It's getting on a bit.
Yeah, I think it's time to draw proceedings to a close.
I think we've talked about 3 real quality games today. Some of them more enjoyable to some of them less enjoyable to most.
Yeah. Well, we've all come at them with very, very different approaches. So
that was all right. It went okay.
Yeah, I think I talked about a game where I enjoy steering. You talked about a game where you sort of enjoy. You can't remember what, but it's a spot in your heart. And Dave's enjoyed the game because he was essentially just looking at chats and analyzing people's herd behaviors. Yes.
All
right. Well, let's wind up. Euan, I believe you're going to do the internet.
It looks like the job falls to me. So our email is firstplayertoken@gmail.com. You can hear in my voice already the apprehension I'm having over this. We are on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, all First Player Token, and we're also on Twitter, which is 1ST Player Token.
Once Player Token.
Bravo.
That's how you do it, Euan.
We have a Discord, which is discord.me/firstplayertoken, and a PSN community, which is presumably also First Player Token.
You would assume so.
Yeah. If you search First Player Token, you're probably going to get us. Look for the logo. Look for the mark of quality. Chris has a. I'm gonna. Even though we said we were going to scrap it, I'm going to bring up the fact that Chris has a Twitch. He's unnecessary Chris, because I feel like I need to say something. And we are part of the Podnose Network,
UK's leading entertainment network,
podcast network.
That's what it is. That's what I believe it is. We're part of it. We're very proud to be part of it. There is stuff going on there, and we're amongst that.
Thank you, Pawel. Yes,
superb.
Podnose is the market leader in podcasts. So,
okay, and we're doing June for the Retro Games Book Club.
That is coming up.
Yep. You guys been getting on okay with it? Pawel, have you made an attempt yet?
I've played June enough to remember most of the stuff I love and like brackets about it. It's certainly a fantastic retro experience.
Excellent. Well, we'll maybe talk about that next week. But if any of you listeners have got thoughts about the game, maybe played it in the past and want to tell us what you thought about it, or play it again, why not? Get in touch, write to us. We haven't had a letter for a while, so that would be nice.
Be nice to have some comments to read out.
Alright guys, that'll do, I think.
I think that's us. I don't really know how we end these anymore.
I can't remember, I was stalling there.
we're spinning. What we do is we spin our wheels for a bit and then we say bye.
Bye.
Bye.